All right, let's start with one more time. How is everyone doing? Awesome, we love it. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Harvey, and I'm a partner at KPMG, and I lead the KPMG Unqork Alliance in the US. I think, Gary, you mentioned in the morning that Unqork has been around for 5 years, and I've had the pleasure of working with Unqork for the last 4.5. So you're partly responsible for this gray. But no, it's been an amazing journey. I'm here with my colleague Tanya, who's a partner in our ESG practice, and we're going to spend the next few minutes to talk about the important topic of ESG and how one of our clients is leveraging the Unqork platform to build an ESG application for their ESG and impact fund, as well as some of the adjacent services that our private clients are asking for in this space. So with that, Tanya, if I can just hand it over to you for your introduction, and maybe tell us a little bit about what you're hearing in the marketplace when it comes to ESG and impact funds.
Great. Thanks, Harvey, and hello, everyone. It's really great to be here. As Harvey mentioned, I'm Tanya Carnegie. I'm a partner based here in New York. I'm also our global lead for our ESG work with private equity and asset management clients. And from that perspective, we're really got a strong, front row view as to what's going on in the ESG and impact investing landscape. And I'm here to tell you that ESG and impact remain a key priority for the executives of our private equity and asset management clients. It is a time of tremendous opportunity, and it's also a time of tremendous frustration. On the frustration side, I think one of the biggest issues is coming up with a common understanding of what ESG is. And for some people, it's all around climate. For others, when they think of ESG, they think of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Others think about cyber and privacy and just fundamental good governance. And of course, it's all of those things, but the lens with which you think about ESG and impact really is relative to the company that you're looking at, where that company is operating in the world, and a host of other factors. So I think that's one of the biggest things that we start with clients, is how to level set that understanding and that strategy. On the opportunity side, what we see our clients really focused on is how do you leverage ESG as a value driver? And to really do that, there's a couple key barriers that need to be overcome. The first thing is increasing confidence in data. What we see is that a lot of our clients are really focused on the collection of data side of things. However, that data, by and large, has limited usefulness. Let me share with you a data point from a survey that we conducted earlier this year of global private equity firms. Over 75% indicated that they collect ESG data from portfolio companies, but over half aren't disclosing any of that information during exit. So what this is indicating is a real gap between the confidence that they have in the data and the utility of that data, which is a huge miss. The other key challenge is around time and expertise. As ESG is becoming increasingly sophisticated, it's requiring a technical expertise and very sector-specific expertise that, quite frankly, is in really short supply. And the third challenge and point of frustration is that the ESG landscape is constantly evolving. I was having a conversation with some of our colleagues this morning, and they said, the ESG of a year ago, 6 months ago, even 3 months ago, is changing. And what private equity firms and asset managers are having a really hard time doing is keeping up with that. I mean, quite frankly, we're all having a hard time because it is something that's requiring a level of nimbleness that we haven't seen before. And then the volume of data requests, also very overwhelming.
Mm-hmm. So that's interesting. You say that, Tanya. Like one thing that, like when we started to have conversations with our client on this problem, the first thing that was an aha moment for me was, hey, it's constantly changing, and we need a platform that's flexible, that's nimble, and that allows us to change very, very quickly based on these requirements and and we are not dependent on a third-party vendor to do that. So that's where our client picked Unqork. So just to tell you a little bit about the use case there, so the client that we've been working with, they have a fund that's focused on both the ESG element, which is the internal focus element of how the company operates, and their ESG and footprint. And then the other part of that is the impact, which is what they call the sustainable outcomes, which is how is that company creating a positive impact in the world, and how are they deriving their revenue from that impact. So they really wanted to kind of look at the data collection from these 2 points. And the challenge was, again, this lack of confidence in the data, because the data is sourced from so many different places. There is a rough idea that clients have right now, which is around the frameworks that they're using, and there is some level of guidance on ESG. And I always kind of, when I think of the analogy, I always think of like creating a dish in the kitchen. You have an idea what you want to create. There are a number of recipes out there, and there are YouTube videos that you can look at. And then you go and you source your ingredients from a number of different places. But then when you start cooking is when you realize you're missing stuff. And when you're missing stuff, you improvise. And when you improvise, in the ESG world, our clients use the best tool available in the world, Microsoft Excel. And when you're using Microsoft Excel, there is little confidence in all the calculations that you're doing. There's a little confidence in the data. And therefore, I think, Tanya, you mentioned that only 15% or 16% are doing proper disclosures because they don't have confidence in the data to disclose to the limited partners of the fund and to the regulators. And all of these funds are very heavily regulated because they are making a lot of assumptions in the market, and they're making a lot of hoo-ha in the market in terms of the impact they're creating, right? So they have to then kind of measure that impact, and for that, they really needed an application that can actually allow them to do that. So what we did was we built that application in Unqork. It went from 0 to the first MVP in 12 weeks. And in those 12 weeks, when we started with the client, we knew generally what the idea was and what we were trying to do. But every day we were iterating on the requirements with the client, and every day every 2 days we were doing the demo, and every 2 days we were changing the requirements, and we were going back to the drawing board, and we were changing the application. But Unqork actually allowed us to do all of that. So some of the key features that we are building in this application, it's a preloaded question bank for ESG and impact investing. It's based on certain principles and frameworks that are out there, whether it's ILPA for ESG, whether it's IRIS for impact investing. But we are providing the flexibility for our clients to kind of go in and add more questions, remove questions, decide what questions they want to send to the potential targets in which they are willing to make investments. It's aligned to the regulatory requirements. So in this case, it's aligned to SFDR, which is the requirement in the EU, and it's mapped to the PAIs, which is the principal adverse impact. What we've also done, and this is where Unqork is really, really good, is the ability to integrate with legacy systems, as well as the ability to integrate directly with the portfolio companies to source the data and bring it in one single place. There was a survey that was done by InvestOps a few months back, and there was a metric in there that 30% of the buy-side firms are really struggling to integrate the data that they are sourcing from various targets. And by using Unqork, they've been able to now bring in all of this data and add some level of assurance on top of that data. The other thing we have also done through this application is provided them like a real-time persona-based dashboard. So depending on the role that you're playing in the application, you can see the data that persists in Unqork, as well as the reporting that goes in for the fund report. So the year-end reporting, you're generating the dashboards for that through this as well. And the reason they really picked Unqork for this was because the faster time to market. We wanted to get there very quickly, and we wanted to make rapid iterations and ease of customization. So that was really one of the reasons our client picked Unqork as a platform. Tanya, anything you want to add to that before we kind of move to the advisory services?
Well, just to emphasize the flexibility, because given that requirements are changing, that flexibility to be able to adapt to what investors are asking for, what new investors want to see is really important. But still building out something that is reflective of the fund's objectives. So just can't emphasize that point enough.
No, that's very, very true, because everything that you're collecting, it's kind of related to the fund PCs and what the objectives of the funds are. And again, this is where we love Unqork, because we were able to very quickly incorporate some of that logic within the application, as well as connect with their tools for more analysis and analytics that they wanted to run. So we created this tool. The client loves it. They think it's the best thing after the sliced bread. But at the same time, they were saying, you know what, look, we have the tool and this works really well, but our clients are still asking a lot of questions. They don't know what data to provide. They don't know how to source that data, because these are like startups that haven't invested a lot in ESG, right? So how can you help them become better? Can you handhold them? Can you onboard them onto this tool? And can you help them on a go-forward basis as they need to provide this data on a quarterly basis, so we can measure their ESG effectiveness and we can measure their impact? So that's why we have also kind of come up with the adjacent services, which is what we are calling our ESG and impact advisory services. So I'm going to have you maybe kind of share a little bit about what we are providing there.
No, happy to. And as you said, Harvey, these portfolio companies, very early stage, they might be very impact or ESG oriented, but the processes that they have internally have yet to be formalized. So that's one of the things that we can go in and do, is help to really bring some structure and some rigor, so that they're able to report back to their investors and provide a degree of confidence with that. But more than a reporting exercise, way more than that, it's about helping these companies to really realize the full potential of ESG and how that can derive enhanced value for their business by having a more formalized but right-sized process. So that's one of the ways. And the other thing that we're helping to do, and this relates to like our client, it's helping to build in ESG and impact through the application, also throughout the entire investment process. So that survey that I mentioned earlier, I'll share another statistic with you, that over 70% of private equity firms are assessing ESG factors during the early stage of a deal, but only about 10% are considering ESG as part of portfolio management. So again, another huge miss. So where we see a lot of focus and where we're helping a lot of our clients is really thinking about ESG and the way it can help optimize value throughout the entire investment life cycle, and how it can really be an indicator of value at exit. And of course, quality data, reliable data is really key. And I guess that's the third key way that we're helping our clients, is in helping them to ask the right questions and look for the right data points at the right time in the investment life cycle, so that we're cutting a lot of the excess data collection, data management, which is really burdensome on both the part of the investor as well as the investee company.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I think just to add to that, the other thing we've been able to accomplish, and what we're also doing, is to source the data directly from the portfolio company system. So they no longer have to send us the data in an Excel file. We are actually going into their systems and pulling this data directly from their systems. And what that has done is it's allowed the clients to not rely on every 6 month or every yearly validation. They can now do it on the monthly basis if they really feel like it. And that's been like a big plus point to our clients. So I know we are short on time here. We are looking at it. This was like a 15-minute speed dating. But if you have any questions, we will be around for the rest of the day. So don't be shy. Feel free to ask questions, and we are very, very happy to do that. We are also, if the clicker works, that's our email and our phone number, so please do reach out, and we'll be happy to talk to you. Thank you again.
Thank you.